to be on radio and television. I've been very
from jet pilot to Hoolihan.
Yeah, well, that's gee, how long do you have?
It took me a few years to get
Yeah, well, no, I graduated from the University of Nebraska, and there was a guy going back a few years now. When I was a sophomore, he was a graduate student who then graduated at the end of that year and got a job in Oklahoma City as a sportscaster and announcer. And now, fast forward to about 3 weeks before I was to graduate, and he called me right out of the blue. Calls me and says, "Listen, I was given the job of replacing myself in the evening announcing job. Would you be interested in? I know you're graduating. Would you be interested in working at my station?" They gave me the job of replacing myself. Fine. He went to be a salesman.
Okay.
More money.
Yeah,
you know.
there is more money.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
So I said, well, gosh, I mean, I had a choice of staying around and going through the graduation process, cap and gown and all that,
Right.
or going down and auditioning for this position in Oklahoma City as my first job. Well, I disappointed my folks because they never got to come to my graduation because I flew down in an Air National Guard jet
Okay.
in Oklahoma City, and apparently they liked what they saw because I got the job. So anyway, so I worked in Oklahoma City for 2 years. An opening developed in Kansas City on radio now, and I did that for about a year, and then an opening developed on the TV side. I learned something very interesting about broadcasting. You make more money in television than you do in radio.
Oh, really?
Yeah, unless you're really a star, you know. I mean, that's different. You negotiate your own price.
Right.
Otherwise, it's union wages or whatever. Anyway, so I auditioned and got the job on television. And during the last couple of years of that, the weekend weatherman was drunk on the air. Needless to say, they fired him,
Right.
looking for a replacement, and knowing that while I was in pilot training and all of that, I learned weather. You got
Sure,
to.
absolutely.
It's called survival, you know. And so they said, well, you want to try it? I said, sure, why not? So I became the weekend weatherman in Kansas City. Now,
Did you play that one straight?
well, yes, I was. Yeah, well, friendly, but straight. You know, I wasn't stuffy. I mean, I never have been
Right.
stuffy on the air. But then the guy who was production manager at that station in Kansas City was in negotiation for a job as production manager here in Cleveland at WJW-TV. And during the course of the conversation, they said, you know, we're replacing our weather guy, Howard Hoffman, if you might recall, who was there for years. And would you know anybody in Kansas City that might want to come to Cleveland? He says, well, I think so. So he comes back to me and says, hey, they got an opening, you know, at the CBS affiliate in Cleveland. Would you be interested? Fine, sure. So there was a guy there at the station on radio. They talked them into getting a green room as a resting area for the on-air talent, the news people and sports guys and weather guys and the announcers. So, and the gimmick was that they had people send them stuff, you know, kind of junk, you know, odd stuff, not worth that much, and in return would get like refrigerators and TVs and all of that. It was a neat little gimmick, and he was going to decorate the green room with this stuff, including, as I saw on the wall, a grass skirt. Well, I auditioned for the job here in Cleveland, trying to be funny because they wanted somebody totally unstuffy and, you know, amusing and a whole bit. And I worked up a thing, and it was awful. It was just not funny. And how do you do that twice a day
Right.
for 52 weeks? You know, you just, hello, I couldn't conceive of that. But I sent it in. I mean, I looked at it after I'd done it, and no. So I called my friend and said, listen, I tried this audition piece and it's not going to work. So how important it is that I get this done right away, because I have an Air National Guard trip out to Montana or whatever it was, or Wyoming, and could we wait a couple of weeks? He says, well, you know, they're not that urgent, but they do want to replace this fella with somebody more friendly and amusing on the air if you can. And so I said, okay. Yeah. So I go off, and part of the thing was to fly over to Hawaii, for heaven's sake. Well, now, I come back, and I'm looking at this green room, and here's this grass skirt on the wall. Aha, okay. So I take the this is like a Saturday night, remember, weekend weather. And I put the grass skirt on, told the engineer to record the weather that night, and for the director to shoot me from the waist up, so you couldn't see the grass skirt. And I said, no, and then, okay, I'm on the air now, and I'm saying, hey, you know, I just got back from a really neat place. But I don't want to rub it in, but it was sunny and balmy and palm trees waving. And I don't want to rub it in. I don't want to say anything more about it. And so I started to go into the weather, and then I had him widen out the shot so you could see the grass skirt. They knew where I was, you know. So anyway, and I sent that in to Channel 8, and they apparently liked what they saw because they flew me in for another audition.